Imagine you're standing on the tracks and you see a train coming. You scream to the people standing next to you, "Run! A train is coming." Now imagine that you're the one who built the train. Imagine you laid the tracks. You designed the engine. You knew exactly how fast it could go, exactly how hard it would be to stop, exactly who would be standing in its path, and you only started screaming after you released it from the station. That's where we are right now. The people who built artificial intelligence, the godfathers, the CEOs, the engineers who spent decades making this possible, are suddenly the loudest voices warning us about it. Geoffrey Hinton, the man they call the Godfather of AI, left Google so he could speak freely. His message? "I'm very sad that I put my life into developing this stuff. It's now extremely dangerous and people aren't taking it seriously enough." Elon Musk, who co-founded OpenAI, signs open letters calling for a pause while building his own AI company on the side. Sam Altman, the face of OpenAI, testifies before Congress about the existential risk while deploying the most powerful AI tools the world has ever seen. They're warning us. They're telling us something terrible is coming, and they're the ones who built it. Today, we're asking the question, why? Why are the people who broke the world now the ones telling us it's about to shatter? What do they gain from this warning? And what are they not telling us? Let's start with the paradox itself, because it's important to feel how strange this is. Imagine if the inventors of the atomic bomb had spent the 1940s warning the public about nuclear annihilation while continuing to build bigger bombs. Imagine if the architects of the subprime mortgage crisis had gone on television in 2006 to explain exactly how the housing market was about to collapse while still selling those mortgages. Imagine if the engineers at Facebook had spent 2016 holding press conferences saying, "Social media is destabilizing democracy and we're very concerned about it," while never changing the algorithm. It sounds absurd, but that's exactly what's happening with AI. The idea that you could just turn it off won't work. A sufficiently advanced AI could persuade humans not to shut it down. We're a little bit scared of this technology. We should be. AI is more dangerous than nukes. We need to regulate it before it's too late. These are the people building it. So here's the question that keeps me up at night. If you knew it was dangerous, why in the hell did you build it? If you knew it could spiral out of control, why did you release it? If you're so scared now, what were you thinking then? The standard answer, the one you'll hear in interviews and TED Talks, is that they didn't know. They couldn't predict how fast it would develop. They were surprised by their own creation. And there's probably some truth to that. The speed of AI's advancement has shocked everyone, including the people inside the labs. But that's not the whole story. Because here's the thing about surprises. They happen once. They happen when you're exploring unknown territory and something unexpected emerges. But these warnings aren't coming after one surprise. They're coming continuously. They're coming while development accelerates. They're coming even as the technology gets more powerful, which means they see what's coming. They're telling us what's coming, and they're not stopping. That's not confusion. That's something else. So, what is that something else? Why do they warn us without stopping? I've spent months thinking about this, talking to people, reading between the lines. I've come up with 4 explanations. I think the truth is probably a combination of all of them. Theory 1, the magician's apprentice. This is the most generous explanation. It's the one the creators themselves would probably give you. They genuinely believed they were building a tool, a smarter calculator, a better search engine, a helpful assistant. They were so focused on the technical miracle. Can we make a machine that understands language? Can it write a poem? Can it reason? That they didn't think about what would happen once it worked. Then they saw GPT-4. They saw what it could do in the hands of millions of people, and they had a visceral, terrifying realization. This is not a tool. This is a force of nature. Geoffrey Hinton put it simply, it's hard to see how you can prevent bad actors from using it for bad things. From this perspective, their warnings are genuine. They're scared. They're trying to put on brakes they never installed. The problem? If that's true, then they're admitting they built something world-changing without understanding what they were building. That's not reassuring. That's terrifying. I call this the experiment.
Theory 2. Covering their asses. Now, follow me, fam. I promise you, it gets even darker because these same creators of AI know exactly what's coming. They know mass layoffs are inevitable. Power is concentrating, and our democracy is at risk. And suddenly now, post-release of the damn thing, they all seemingly want to get ahead of the story.
By being the loudest voices warning about AI, they accomplish 3 things. First, they control the narrative. If they define the real danger as some far-off sci-fi scenario, AI taking over the world, rogue superintelligence, it diverts attention from the very real present-day dangers. Job displacement, algorithmic bias, the destruction of privacy, the concentration of power, all a part of some large production of distraction produced by none other than them. Second, they preempt regulation. They can say, you don't need to regulate us now. We're working on safety. The real threat is in the future, and we're the only ones who understand it well enough to prevent it. This keeps them in the driver's seat. Third, when the layoffs hit, and they're already hitting, they can throw their hands up and say, we warned you. This is just an inevitable force of nature. It absolves them of responsibility. The technology did it, not them. AI researcher Timnit Gebru, who was fired by Google for telling the truth, put it this way. They want to be the ones to decide what we should be scared of because that means they get to decide what we don't look at. Theory 3, the prisoner's dilemma. This one's structural. Even if a CEO wanted to slow down, even if Sam Altman personally believed we should pause for 5 years, he can't. Because if OpenAI stops, Google won't. If Google stops, Anthropic won't. If all the American companies stop DeepSeek and China won't, they're trapped in an arms race. The only way out is if everyone stops together. So, their warnings might be genuine attempts to create global regulation that would force everyone to slow down. They can't stop alone, but they're begging someone, governments, the public, anyone, to make them all stop together. The question is, if that's true, why aren't they actually stopping? Why aren't they walking away? Why aren't they refusing to build until regulations exist? One word, greed. Because the money is too good, because the race is too exciting, because stopping alone would mean losing, and none of them are willing to lose. Theory 4, the Messiah complex. This one's psychological. Many of these figures genuinely believe they're the only ones who understand the technology well enough to guide it safely. They see themselves as the chosen stewards, of a godlike power. Their warnings aren't hypocritical. They're evidence of their unique position. They're saying, only we understand how dangerous this is. Only we can save you. Trust us. It's not insincere. It's just self-serving. It places them in a position of ultimate authority while framing anyone who questioned them as naive. 4 theories? Probably all partly true. But here's what none of them are explaining. If they're so worried, why are they still building? I want to read you something. It's from a blog post by Mo Goldad. He's the former chief business officer at Google X, the company's moonshot factory. He's been inside the machine. Here's what he wrote. It's not AI that's the problem. It's human stupidity, greed, and our hunger for power that will drive us off the cliff. Let that sink in. One of the most senior technology executives on the planet, someone who worked at the highest levels of Google, says the problem isn't the technology, it's the greed. He's not alone. Lauren Hawker Zafer, who studies AI ethics, recently wrote about what she calls the Midas algorithm. You know the story, King Midas wished for everything he touched to turn to gold. He got his wish. He starved to death because you can't eat gold. Her argument, Silicon Valley is doing the same thing. They're trying to turn human labor, human creativity, human culture into capital efficiency. They're automating everything they can touch, and they're forgetting a fundamental law of economics. Algorithms don't buy products. Displaced workers don't pay subscriptions. If you automate everyone out of a job, who's left to buy what you're selling? But they're doing it anyway. Why? Because the incentives are perverse. In 2024, corporate AI investment hit $252 billion. Private funding climbed nearly 45%. The people funding this aren't thinking about 2040. They're thinking about next quarter's returns. And here's the part that matters for our question. The same people funding AI are the same people who've been shaping our economy for decades. Citadel. Point 72. Bill Ackman. The same Wall Street titans who profited from the 2008 crash, who funded the social media boom, who've watched inequality skyrocket and done nothing, they're now pouring billions into AI infrastructure. When Geoffrey Hinton says he's sad, I believe him. But here's what his sadness reveals. Someone in his investor circle got a little bit greedier than he anticipated. Someone looked at what he built and said, "We're not stopping. We're not slowing down. We're going all the way." And now they can't be stopped. Not because the technology is inevitable, not because progress is a force of nature, but because the people with money have decided that the potential returns are worth any human cost. That's not a technology problem. That's a power problem. Here's where we need to listen for the silence. Because the warnings are loud, but what they're not saying is even louder. What they're not saying is, number one, the present is already burning. They warn about AI becoming conscious in 20 years. They warn about superintelligence escaping human control. They warn about existential risk. What they should be talking about more is what's happening right now. Entry-level hiring is collapsing. 21% of companies have already frozen entry-level hiring because of AI. By the end of 2026, that number is projected to hit 36%. 51% of business leaders say their company will lay off workers specifically because AI is consolidating roles. High-paying white-collar jobs are more vulnerable than low-wage physical work. If you make over $100,000, your job is actually more at risk than someone making $35,000. These aren't future problems. They're happening today. And the people warning us about 2040 aren't talking enough about 2026. What they're not saying takes us to number 2. They're building the cage.
So, I've always believed that the devil is in the details. I can't help it, fam. I'm so sorry. But the way my mind works is even shocking to me sometimes, because no one can sit here and tell me about A, skip all over B, and expect me to simply accept C, and without being privy to or having any knowledge of it. I'm to simply accept C. No. My brain isn't wired that way. I'm analytical, so of course, I've got to know what happened to B. This is exactly what they're expecting us to do, except that AI is here and that it could pose a threat. But everything in between, leave it to the creators. You don't need to know anything about that. That's what I'm talking about.
They talk about AI safety like it's a technical problem, aligning values, preventing rogue behavior, teaching machines to be good while simultaneously building and have built 5,400 plus active data centers right here in the United States to house these AI systems and cloud services. Now, what they're not telling us is that safety often means control. The same technology that can surveil and manipulate at scale is being built by the same companies that already surveil and manipulate us for profit. The same infrastructure that could power a post-scarcity utopia is being designed to maximize shareholder value. They're not just building AI, they're building the architecture of whatever comes next, and they're designing it so that they remain at the center. And number 3, why they're not saying anything about the other path. This is the one that haunts me. They talk about AI like it's inevitable, like it's a force of nature, like we had no choice but to build it this way, like any attempt to slow down is naive ludism. But there were choices. There are choices. We could have built AI as a public utility like libraries or national parks. We could have required that productivity gains from AI be shared with the workers whose labor made it possible. We could have actually paused until we figured out how to make it serve everyone, not just shareholders. We didn't choose those paths. The people with money chose differently. And now they're warning us about the consequences of their own choices, framing it as inevitable, expecting us to accept it. That's not a warning. That's a power move dressed up as concern. So let's answer the title question directly. Why do the people who broke the world need you to know it's coming? Reason 1, deniability. If they warn you and you do nothing, then when the collapse comes, they can say, "We told you, we tried. It's not our fault you didn't listen." Reason 2, control. If they define the threat, they define the solution. They need people to buy into the threat, the belief that AI will come to kill, steal, and destroy. If the threat is rogue AI, the solution is better AI safety research, which they control. If the threat is existential risk, the solution is trust the experts, which they are. Reason 3, inevitability. If they warn you and you accept that it's inevitable, you stop fighting, you stop demanding accountability, you stop asking why they get to decide the future. You just prepare to survive, you prepare to join the rush and buy into the madness and chaos, the urgency, and delve into the idea of I must hurry up and learn AI last year mentality. The cost is set and the price tags are everywhere. We think we're buying an AI product.
Sweetheart, we are the product.
Reason 4, legacy. This one's more human. I think some of them genuinely want to be remembered as the ones who saw it coming. The prophets, the Cassandras, the ones who tried to save us even if we didn't listen. But prophets don't build the thing they prophesy against. Prophets don't profit from the disaster they predict. Here's what I want you to take from this episode. The people warning us about AI are not wrong. The financial setbacks, the impact to our livelihoods, the financial dangers are real. For your average people like you and me, the displacement is coming. The concentration of power is happening. But their warnings are not neutral. They're not pure. They're not the whole story. Every warning is also a position. Every prediction is also a performance. Every call for safety is also a claim to authority. The question isn't just, is AI dangerous? The question is, who benefits from me being afraid? Who benefits from me feeling powerless? Who benefits from me accepting that this is inevitable? Geoffrey Hinton said he's sad. I believe him. But sadness, fear, nor warnings are stopping them. The only thing that could stop them. When I say them, I mean big tech, those billionaire big dogs with deep pockets, or at least redirect them, is us. Us asking different questions. Us refusing the frame. Us organizing, not just posting. Us building alternatives. Not just accepting what we're given. They are molding us. They need you to know it's coming because they need you to feel like you can't stop it. But you can, not alone, not overnight, not without cost, but you can. The first step is seeing the game. The second step is refusing to play.
Until next time.